I didn't answer the phone, and that's where this story really begins. Not with my childhood, not with my career, not with the medals on the wall or the house I paid off or the retirement party where people shook my hand and called me a good man. It begins with a phone ringing and me looking at it and deciding I was too busy. I'm 84 years old now. My hands shake a little when I hold this cup. My hearing isn't what it used to be, but I still hear that ring, clear as a church bell. It was my daughter. She called 3 times that afternoon, and I let it go to voicemail. I told myself I'd call her back after dinner. I never got that chance. You see, when you're young, you think tragedy announces itself. You think it gives you a warning, a sign, a dramatic moment. But sometimes it's just an ordinary Tuesday. Sunlight through the window, coffee half finished, papers spread across a desk, and a phone you decide not to answer. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always the old man who stares out the window and talks about regret. Once upon a time, I was admired, respected, the kind of man neighbors asked for advice. I was the first in my family to go to university. Grew up in a small industrial town in Ohio, smoke in the air, factory whistles at dawn. My father worked with his hands, my mother cleaned houses. They told me, study hard, don't end up like us. So I did. I became an engineer. Good one too, structured, logical, efficient. I believed life worked the same way. You follow the blueprint, you build carefully, and you end up with something solid. I married at 27. Her name was Elaine. Soft voice, patient eyes. She used to hum while washing dishes. We had 2 children, Martha and Daniel. They were small once. You forget that. You forget how small they were. Martha used to climb onto my lap with picture books. Daniel used to wait by the door when I came home from work, holding a toy truck like it was a trophy. And I was proud. Proud that I could provide. Proud that I could give them what I never had. But here's the thing nobody tells you about providing. It can become a hiding place. I worked long hours. Promotions didn't just fall into your lap back then. You had to chase them. Prove yourself. Be dependable. Be available. Always available. If Martha had a school recital, I'd try to make it. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I didn't. If Daniel had a baseball game, I'd promise to come. Sometimes I was late. Sometimes I never showed up at all. Daddy's busy, Elaine would tell them, and I believed that meant I was doing something noble. Tell me honestly, if you were building a future for your children, wouldn't you think that mattered most? I thought I had time to balance it all, time to be more present later, time to reconnect when things slowed down. They don't slow down, they just end. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The real turning point didn't come with applause or failure, it came quietly. When Martha was 36, she had moved 2 states away, married a kind man named Peter. They had 1 little girl, Sophie. Big brown eyes, wild curls. I adored that child. Or at least, I thought I did. Martha would call often in the early years. Dad, Sophie said her first word. Dad, you should see her dancing. Dad, we're thinking of visiting next month. And I'd listen, half listen. There was always something on my mind. A client issue, a property investment, a minor ache in my knee that I was pretending wasn't serious. Then, as years passed, the calls became less frequent. Have you ever noticed that relationships don't shatter all at once? They erode, like stone underwater, slow, invisible. Martha once said to me during a holiday dinner, "Dad, sometimes it feels like we're an appointment on your calendar." I laughed it off. I wish I hadn't. Because the truth is, she was right. The day she called 3 times, I was sorting financial papers, retirement planning, adjusting investments. making sure Elaine and I would be secure. Isn't that funny? Secure. The phone lit up with her name. I saw it. I remember thinking, I'll call her tonight. I don't want to get into a long conversation right now. It rang again 15 minutes later. I sighed, then a third time. I turned it face down. 2 hours later, Peter called. There's a tone in a man's voice when something irreversible has happened. You can hear the world collapsing behind his words. There's been an accident. A truck ran a red light. Martha was driving home from work. Sophie was in the back seat. Sophie survived. Martha didn't. I drove through the night. 8 hours of darkness. The highway blurred in front of me. I kept replaying those missed calls. What was she trying to say? Did she need me? Was she just calling to talk? Have you ever lost someone with unanswered words between you? At the hospital, I saw her. Machines quiet now, skin pale, so still. She looked smaller than I remembered. I touched her hand. It was cold. I whispered, I'm here. But I wasn't, not when it mattered. Peter later told me she had been feeling overwhelmed. Work stress, motherhood, doubts. She wanted advice. She wanted her father. She wanted me. And I was organizing paperwork. That's when the first crack formed inside me, a fracture that never healed correctly. The funeral was unbearable. Sophie clung to Peter's leg. Elaine wept in a way I had never seen, a deep animal grief. People told me it wasn't your fault, and maybe technically it wasn't. But regret doesn't listen to logic. Regret whispers at night. Regret asks questions like, what if you had answered? What if she needed comfort in that exact hour? What if your voice could have changed something, anything? You think you can fix relationships later. Later is a luxury. After Martha died, Daniel drifted further away. He had always been quieter, sensitive in ways I never understood. We argued often when he was young. I thought I was teaching him discipline. He thought I was teaching him distance. One evening, years before the accident, he told me, Dad, I don't need a manager. I need a father. I dismissed it as youthful exaggeration. After Martha's death, Daniel stopped calling altogether. I reached out once, twice, then pride stepped in. He should call me. Months turned into years. At 68, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Treatable, they said, slow-moving. Sitting in that sterile room, hearing the word cancer, my first thought wasn't fear of death. It was fear of dying without speaking to my son. I called him from the parking lot. Voicemail. I left a message I had rehearsed 100 times in my head over the years, but never said aloud. I'm sorry. 3 days later, he called back. We spoke awkwardly, carefully, like strangers trying to remember a shared language. He told me he had struggled with depression most of his adult life, that he always felt he wasn't enough for me, that he stopped calling because it hurt too much to feel invisible. Invisible. Can you imagine? Your own child feeling unseen by you. We began to rebuild slowly, but there are years you can't reclaim. Birthdays missed, conversations never had, a wedding I attended but didn't truly feel part of. And here's the part that stings the most. Sophie, my granddaughter, grew up without her mother. I tried to be present after that. I really did. I attended recitals. I sent letters. I showed up. But she once asked me, when she was 12, Grandpa, why didn't you answer Mom that day? Peter must have told her. I had no answer. What do you say? I thought I had time. Would that have comforted her? Elaine passed away 5 years ago. Quietly, in her sleep, a gentle ending for a woman who carried more than I ever noticed. The house is silent now. Success doesn't keep you warm at night. Investments don't sit beside you when the wind rattles the windows. Memories do, and some memories are sharp. If I could sit with my younger self just once, I wouldn't lecture him about money or career paths. I would grab him by the shoulders and say, "Pick up the phone. Leave the meeting early. Miss the promotion. Sit on the floor and listen to your child's story. Because here's what I've learned at 84. You can rebuild a career. You can recover from financial loss. You can move to a new city, but you cannot replay a moment that required you and only you. Time doesn't shout when it's about to run out. It whispers. And if you're distracted, you won't hear it. You think you'll have time to apologize. You think you'll have time to visit. You think you'll have time to say, "I love you." You don't know that. None of us do. Would answering that call have saved Martha? Probably not. But it would have saved me from this weight I carry. It would have meant she heard my voice one last time. And maybe that would have been enough. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here because I don't want you sitting in a quiet house decades from now, replaying small decisions that became permanent. Call your mother, visit your father. Tell your child you're proud of them. And when your phone rings with someone's name you love, answer it, even if you're busy, especially if you're busy, because one day the phone will stop ringing. And the silence is much heavier than you imagine. I'm 84. I don't know how many mornings I have left, but I know this. Love is urgent. Presence is urgent. Forgiveness is urgent. Don't wait for tragedy to rearrange your priorities. Learn from an old man who learned too late. The phone is probably in your pocket right now. Who do you need to call?